Welcome back and happy holidays. In this video, I'll be showing you guys how I left my aquarium for 4 whole weeks unattended.
But before I start, I gotta thank everybody for staying with me. And also, I would like to welcome the new members of the one and only Croissant Gang. Because it is a momentous time. We've hit the big 5-0. I can finally think about retiring. But crusty jokes aside, here's how to leave your aquarium on vacation. So really the best way I could think of leaving your aquarium on vacation unattended is to have someone else look after it that actually knows what they're doing, of course. But however, since, especially in my case, I don't have a single friend or anybody that I really know very well or that I could trust, like they don't have a saltwater aquarium and they don't know how to take care of it. So for people like me, you're kind of left in the dust. But if you know somebody that can take care of it, I highly recommend going that route, even if you do have to pay them. It just ensures the safety of your aquarium and you can travel without worrying about anything. But for people like me who have no friends, you have to get a bit creative per se. Really, there's only 3 things you need to address in order to leave your fish tank on vacation. 1, being food. 2, the water level. And the last thing is nutrient levels.
So here's another voiceover at 2 a.m. because I failed to elaborate on why these are actually important. The food for the livestock. That's pretty self-explanatory. You don't want your fish to starve. Number 2, topping off evaporated water. Depending on if you're running freshwater or saltwater, this could differ. In freshwater, it might not be as important depending on the duration of your travels. So if you have a freshwater tank, the only thing you really need to watch out for is having enough water in the tank in the first place. So you want to make sure your pumps don't run dry, and you definitely want to make sure that your fish can still swim at the end of your vacation. For saltwater, it's a bit different. Since it's saltwater, water evaporates, but the salt does not go with it. So as the water evaporates, the salt stays, so the water will become saltier as the water level drops. Salinity, which is basically, in layman's terms, a way to measure the amount of salt in the water. That water can become unsuitable for your livestock. So you want to keep that at the levels that you have them currently. And the nutrients. And the ones I'm talking about are nitrates and phosphates. If you have corals, there's a slew of other crap that I don't even know how to explain. So basically nitrates and phosphates come from rotting waste, like fish dung and uneaten food. And if those get too high, your corals and your fish will suffer. So you want to manage them at probably what levels you have them at right now, assuming that you have a healthy tank.
So if you're gonna be gone for more than a few days, for food, you're gonna need to get an automatic fish feeder. I use the Eheim Everyday Fish Feeder. You can set multiple feeding times. I only set 1 because this tank is quite small. It's only 15 gallons. And I know most people have much smaller tanks as well.
So with the fish feeder, you normally want to just set the time when you normally feed your tank. And the type of food that you want to fill this up with, at least with this specific feeder, is pellet food. I found that with flake food, the serving sizes are very inconsistent. You'll want to do your own testing, and I think that with this one, larger pellets will work much better than really small ones. I've personally had to tape off half the opening because it was just dispensing too much food. And to give you an example, the food I use is Reef Nutrition's TDO small pellets. So the next point that we have to address is the water level. The best solution for this is an auto top-off system, or an ATO.
I personally have the XP Aqua Duetto ATO, and this lasted me for 4 weeks. It's not running currently, so I cannot address the long-term reliability, but I've seen stuff online that says this works great for multiple months at a time. So for a week, this should be okay. Another important thing to note is this is meant for nano tanks like this. Nano tanks, I would say, are probably 25 gallons and below. Anything above, the pump that comes with this will not be able to keep up. So you'll have to, I'm afraid, do your own research because I'm not an expert in auto top-off systems. I just got one that was recommended, and there's many great videos out there from Bulk Reef Supply that have a list of highly recommended auto top-off systems. So basically what this unit will do, this is like a controller, and what usually happens is, here's a sensor at least, this blue thing right here. This measures the water level, and if the water level gets too low, it'll pump water through a tube into your tank so that the water level does not decrease. Now, another thing that goes along with the auto top-up unit, you'll need to get a reservoir. Really, any water like aquarium safe or like food safe container should work. I used an aquarium, a 20-gallon long aquarium, because there's a $1 per gallon sale and I thought I could do something cool with this. But after doing this, I would probably just use like one of those giant Sterilite tubs, because I used this without a lid. That was not a good idea. There's like some nasty stuff. So if you're gonna get an auto top-up system, make sure your reservoir has a lid. And the last thing really to address is the cleanliness of the water. You don't want your nitrates and phosphates getting too high, otherwise that could harm your corals, at least in a reef tank, and your fish if you're only in a fish-only system. So you want a little bit, but you don't want too much. High levels of nitrate and phosphate are not good for your aquarium. The best way to really address this problem is to just have your tank running for a long time, I'm afraid. So basically, the best way to take care of this is to wait until your tank matures so that you don't have to do water change for over the duration of your vacation, which is unfortunate. But if you were a bit impatient and did not plan too far ahead, you could use media such as GFO, like this brand I have here. This will remove the phosphates. This will control your algae growth, which I seem to have a lot of. And that should help, but however, I must caution you guys, this stuff is strong. And like I said, you want a little bit of nitrates and phosphates, but you don't want to get rid of all of them. So you have to be careful with this stuff, because this stuff is strong. That is how, focusing on those 3 things, I was able to keep my tank unattended for over 4 weeks. Now if you're gonna follow what I do, I must caution you, there is definitely a big risk in doing so. There are random things that happen in aquariums just for no reason. So everything you do, I'm afraid to say, this is at your own risk.
A disclaimer that I'll have to make is I'm not responsible for anything that happens to your tank. So it is up to you as the tank's caretaker entirely to determine if your tank is ready to be cared for by robots. I hope this video has been insightful in some way and will assist you in your aquarium adventures. So as always, make sure to hit that like button if you thought this video was helpful so other people can have an easier time finding it. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.